Ready Player One came out in 2018, directed by Steven Spielberg, written by Zach Penn and Ernest Cline, who wrote the book as well, Ernest Cline. So this is an incredible film. We're so excited to talk about this.
And you read the book, right?
Yeah, I read the book.
Yeah.
You know, I read books.
Yeah, how'd you like it?
I thought it was phenomenal. It's one of my favorite books I've read in the last 5 years, easy.
Because you told me about it, but I never read it.
Oh, you never read it?
I never read it.
I got it. I'll let you borrow it.
Thanks, man. You're so generous. And when this movie was announced, I was like, this sounds kind of like iffy. But then when Spielberg was attached to it, I'm like, well, this has to be a really great story if he's making it. And it really was. It ended up being a really fantastic film. I remember the last time we watched it, we've seen this a few times, but the last time we watched it, we put on a movie before it, and the movie ended up being so bad.
The Little Things.
Yeah, The Little Things, that within 20 minutes, we were like, let's watch something else. Then we put Ready Player One on to kind of like wash ourselves of the horrible cinematic experience of that movie and to just take in this amazing Spielberg film.
Yeah, to show like how a movie is actually made correctly. If you like The Little Things, that's all to you. You know, you like what you like. But personally for us, it was a bit unwatchable, mostly because of the editing. But yeah, welcome to Raiders of the Lost Podcast. This is James, and that's Anthony over there in the other seat, in the other microphone. Ready Player One, you can stream it on HBO Max right now. This is a Warner Brothers film, or you can rent it on Amazon Prime. I think $3.99 is where it's cost right now. And this movie, for me, it's beyond fun. It's a classic Steven Spielberg adventure movie. It feels like his old blockbusters in a lot of ways, and Warner Brothers actually offered this movie to Christopher Nolan to direct, but I think for him, he's really into and focused on directing his own stories, his own scripts, plus the CGI element of this probably turned him away.
He would have like vomited while making this.
He's like, how do I do this practical? All right, I'm going to have to create a real Oasis, and we're going to go inside there with the camera. We're going to film everything.
We're filming it in IMAX film only.
So he's like, I can't do it, guys. Because we all know he's about to blow up an atomic bomb for Oppenheimer.
Yeah. That's not his style. But Spielberg, what's really great about Spielberg and what you could really make the case for him being the best filmmaker of all time is like he can do anything. He can make a movie about anything, any genre, any theme. He's done it all, and he's done it all really well. You know, he's made some of the best movies in basically every single genre, and it's like doesn't matter what it is, he can pull it off. And I think that him just being such a talented director, like a generational talent in terms of being a filmmaker and an artist, he knows how to do something like Schindler's List and then do something like Raiders, or like he made Schindler's List and Jurassic Park at the same time. He filmed Schindler's List, and then while he was editing Schindler's List, he was making Jurassic Park. It was back-to-back productions. Like, who can do that with such completely different kinds of films?
Two top 100 movies of all time easily.
Exactly, but completely different genres, completely different ideas and themes. And once again, Ready Player One is another example of that, where he had done Bridge of Spies, and then he does Ready Player One the year after, and it's like they couldn't be more different from one another, and they're both amazing movies.
Yeah, and I know he said in an interview that Ready Player One was one of the most difficult films he's ever made in his life, and I think once you read the book, and I'm sure anyone listening who listening has read the book, it's dense, it's complicated. There's so much, obviously, that they had to cut out from the story in the book, and you know they don't really touch on in the film too much because it's only 2.5 hour movie that they got to fit this book in. It's pretty long, and it's an awesome read, too, as well, and especially if you get the pop culture references, because I think if there's a con to this movie, it might be if you don't get the references that are going on throughout the film, throughout the book, maybe it's not as great of an experience to you, but it still is a lot of fun, I think.
I feel like this movie is perfect for people who are right now around the ages of 30 to 40 years old.
I think 20 to 45, 50 will get it.
With young people, I'm not sure they would get all of the references that are in there.
Yeah.
There are a lot of 90s and 80s references.
Yeah.
Like there are Thundercats in this movie, you know what I mean? So I think that the sweet spot is like our family. Like we're the youngest of the six boys.
But we have older brothers, so we know 80s pop culture.
Yeah, our oldest brother is 40, so it's perfect. I think that's the perfect spread of ages to enjoy this film and get all of the Easter eggs and get the feeling and nostalgia that Spielberg was trying to throw in there. And what I also love is that Spielberg threw Easter eggs of his own things into it, you know what I mean? But in a fun way. He wasn't like showing off, but like there's a few Easter eggs of his own movies that I think are kind of like you have to throw them in because he helped define film for so long, so you have to throw some Spielberg references in.
If you think about it in terms of pop culture, who's a better director to make this film than someone who's contributed probably the most to pop culture when it comes to filmmaking with Steven Spielberg. I mean, his movies have been so huge with pop culture. Maybe not right now, but in the 80s and 90s, his movies were so popular. E.T., I mean,
Indiana Jones.
and even the movies he's produced, like The Goonies and Gremlins, everything he's touched so many things that have been so popular in our
so
culture.
many hearts.
For real. And he's a Jedi master of directing. And I think that if you watch just the opening shot in sequence of this film, there's like 2 or 3 shots. That's all it is. He tells you everything you need to know about this world, about Wade Watts, how he lives in this slum. The entire planet seems to be like this for the most part. He's incredibly poor, and also everyone's addicted to this VR game. But he doesn't do it by telling you. He does it by showing you, while Ty Sheridan's character, Z, whichever name you want to call him in the film, Wade Watts, he's just going down his slum structure. And it's just these long takes of all these peering into people's homes and trailers and seeing what they're doing, and with a little voiceover, but it's like 5 lines of dialogue for a couple minutes, and we know everything we need to know.
It's more showing than telling, and that's what great directing is. He understands the importance of you show the action rather than someone just telling the information, and the audience absorbs it better, and it's much more aesthetically like pleasing to the eye to actually visualize. You can say, yeah, everyone's on this VR OASIS platform, but to show all of his neighbors in their own little trailers playing different games in the OASIS, that really wakes us up to not just the VR world, but the world of the real world as well. And
he treats his audience members like they're intelligent.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't spoon feed them information, which is so great. And what's really different about this Spielberg movie from, I think, all other Spielberg movies, I'm trying to think of another movie of his that does this, but a lot of the music is soundtrack music, like from songs, like pop songs, rock songs.
Well, he opens up with Jump by Van Halen, which is the perfect song to open this movie too.
Exactly, but most of his movies, I can't think of movies that aren't scored by either John Williams or Alan Silvestri did a score that...
Well, Silvestri did this one, right?
Yeah, he did this one as well, and he also did Bridge of Spies, but still, there's more pop culture music in it than any other Spielberg film I can think of.
Yeah,
it ended up being like an Edgar Wright movie to me, and I thought that was really refreshing to see a Spielberg movie with so much like regular music in it.
Yeah, and honestly, when you read the book, which I can't wait for you to check it out, you'll be surprised and shocked how he was able to adapt this book into one movie and consolidate everything pretty much that you need to know from the book. But before we continue, the best way to support Raiders of the Lost Podcast is to become a patron at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast, where you'll get awesome perks like podcast schedules, personalized videos, Patreon shoutouts for top tiers, and all patrons have access to our weekly bonus episodes, which post every Wednesday. We will also be launching a new podcast masterclass online this month of November. So for anyone who wants to start a podcast or wants to improve their current podcast, our 22-chapter course will give you all of our secrets behind the scenes. Basically, we're Gordon Ramsay, and it's like his cooking masterclass. You're going to learn all of our secrets, everything we've learned. And now head on over to our website, RaidersOfTheLostPodcast.com, to see all of our content, our merch, our movie posters, our new beanies just came out for the holiday season. To get your hands on those, they're pretty cool. Follow, subscribe wherever you're listening, and thank you so much for tuning in around the world.
And also, very big news, today is James's first day.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
After quitting his job.
Yeah, I'm a free man today.
Your last day of work at your old 9-to-5 job was yesterday. How's it feel?
8 to 4:30. It feels amazing. Yeah. It's pretty surreal. It's only possible because of the amazing people around the world who listen to us every day. So thank you so much, everyone who has become a patron, everyone who uses our coupon codes. That's really how we pay the bills around here now. So we work for you all, which is pretty cool. So if you have any requests, let us know. And please, if there's any problems, contact HR. We don't want any issues going on.
You did it, man.
We did it. We made it. It still doesn't mean we're going to take our foot off the gas. We just got to push down harder. That's the thing.
Oh, yeah, big time.
All right, now let's get back into Ready Player One.
And what I love about this film is how accurate it seems to have been in terms of predicting the future. And in terms of futuristic movies and sci-fi films, you know, so many are just like a little over the top and are completely wrong about, you know, what future life will be like in terms of the advancement of technologies and, you know, how people live and interact in lifestyles as well. But
no flying cars yet.
Yeah, no flying cars. Whereas, like, someone like Kubrick, he friggin' put iPads in his movie 2001: Space Odyssey, which is crazy. Like, that's unbelievable. But in this film, there's so much that seems like it's happening in terms of, first of all, just the idea of a VR world and virtual reality is a relatively new technology that has been kind of flying under the radar in terms of the mainstream. I think everyone is aware of it, but I don't think most people are aware of the power of its potential and how it's very possible and very likely that within around 30 to 40 years, maybe even less, you will see a society, Western civilizations, affluent societies, they may be living in a world like this film where most of the population are interacting, living, using all their free time, and even working and even making a living in this virtual reality.
Yeah, so the thing with this film, I think it does an excellent job, like you said, predicting the future with VR. But also another film that we've talked about a ton of times on the podcast is Blade Runner 2049. I think they've done a good job with predicting the future with modern technology, where it's heading, not with like the androids or replicants, not with flying cars or anything like that, but I think with the augmented reality aspect of that, like Joy, the character's augmented reality. So I think VR and AR, whether people know it or not, and especially I think people are starting to realize it with Facebook launching Meta, now becoming Meta with their metaverse in the works, we're seeing VR and AR are going to be huge in your life. And augmented reality isn't quite VR. VR is when you actually have the headset on. You're like living in another space. It's like a different dimension. But augmented reality is things that are changed in your usual perception. So like it's happening with cars on like onboard displays with augmented reality on like windshields, or like you can get glasses and motorcycle helmets that have augmented reality functioning for like how fast you're going, like the road ahead of you.
Yeah, there will be like this, and this is going to be relatively soon.
It's happening now.
You're gonna have access to in car windshields and glasses where, say, like I'm walking and I put it on Google Maps or something, and I don't have to look at my phone for where to turn. The augmented reality will, in the distance, will put a digital arrow where obviously I'm looking through the lens of the augmented reality. It will put like an arrow on like a street corner, pointing to the right, saying, that's my next turn.
It's already happening.
Yeah, and everyone's going to have that very soon. I think people are going to be surprised how quickly that will come.
Yeah, but I think with right now, especially the week that Meta was announced, we didn't even plan that. We planned to do Ready Player One like a couple weeks ago.
It's heavily requested.
And I was talking to you about the VR stuff and with what Facebook was doing and how they're kind of leading the world in terms of that kind of technology, about not VR technology, but creating a metaverse or like a universe for you to go inside with the VR world that's connected globally, and the immense potential with that. So they're obviously the forerunner company with running that kind of world. And then ironically, a week ago they announced that. So we didn't even time it. It just happened to be with Ready Player One. So now we're about to be living sort of in a Ready Player One world. And what's that going to mean? And will we end up like Wade Watts' world? Probably not that bad, but I think that in terms of people being addicted to VR and being on it all day, I think that'll happen.
Yeah, and I think, this is not 30 years in the future.
2045.
25 years in the future. So, things can get worse physically in the world. I doubt it'll be on the scale where there are going to be like
slums in Columbus, Ohio.
in Ohio of trailers on top of each other, obviously. That's a possibility, but maybe in like 80 years or 100 years, but not within 25 years for sure. But I think that definitely, in terms of, climate and how the world is changing and, things are a little testy, especially with country to country. So you can look at, maybe you don't know what could happen in 20 years in terms of like what the landscape of the world will look like,
or what the wealth gap could look like.
Exactly. So
the middle class could be eradicated. You never know.
So that is unpredictable. So you could be seeing a lot of people, even in a country like this, living in slum-like conditions, like in a country like India, where major populations are living in extreme poverty. So you can never write that out officially, because we never know what will happen in 20 years. So it could become a reality where the real world is so devastatingly bad and harsh and difficult to live in that people will use something like an OASIS, like VR world, to escape that every day.
It's just like Inception. They come here to dream.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe your life will be so tough that, like Wade Watts and all these people, that you have to escape into a VR world.
Yeah, and what I really love about the message of the film is ultimately the message is to cherish the reality that we have, like the real world, like how they, at the end of the film, when they say that Tuesdays and Thursdays are...
sorry, spoiler alerts. If you haven't watched the movie yet, you might want to stop now and then come back and watch it.
They say that the OASIS is closed on Tuesdays and Thursdays so that you can actually get out in the real world. And I think that's an important thing to think of when considering VR, because one thing, the biggest problem that VR poses on people is increased isolation and we're social animals, and so
And we've been isolated for so long,
Yeah.
the last year and a half.
exactly. But VR will make people voluntarily want to isolate from everything.
It could be a perfect storm with COVID, then the VR metaverse coming out right now that
Yeah.
people are like used to being alone now.
Exactly, but this will even isolate you from like the people in your family in the same house. And that's a problem, I think, and it can be an addictive thing, like how these people in this movie are on this all the time, all their free time. So it can be a problem in terms of mental health, I think, for sure, and also in terms of the social landscape from people to people, and it could cause even more division because if we're not spending time with other people and communicating with other people, it will divide others. So I think that voluntary isolation is the biggest danger when it comes to VR.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite lines in the film is at the end when Halliday finally gives
The egg.
Wade the egg after he passes the second final test, and he knows he's cool. He tells
You're cool.
he tells him two things. He says that reality is the only thing that's real, and also he says it's the only place you can get a good meal. But that's his way of saying, because James Halliday seems to maybe he lives on the spectrum, but his IQ is probably like 250. It's absurd. The way that this character probably thinks in his mind. But his way that him saying that it's the only place you can get a decent meal is a very simple way to say that it's the only thing that's real, basically. That's what he's saying. Like, to get a decent meal, that's the only way to experience life is in the real world.
And my favorite part about that scene is that when Wade gets there and he earns the egg, and Halliday is like looking in his room for the egg, like he can't remember where he put it.
The egg.
He's like, "Where is it?
Where is the egg?"
Like he struggles to find it, and then when he eventually finds it, he gives it to Wade. But like that's the perfect metaphor for Halliday viewing it as it never really was about the egg, and the metaverse doesn't really matter. That's how unimportant it is to him. And I think he wants other people to realize that. And Wade realizes that, I think, by the end, because here is this big egg, this egg that the entire world has been trying to find this thing. And then Halliday is like, where did I put it? Where is it again? So I think it's a great moment of the film for sure, and really hammers home that theme and idea.
Hammer it home. How about we get into some characters? But actually, first, I want to talk about some of my favorite pieces of pop culture in this movie, because it's full of it. And the book has even more. But I think my favorites would probably be the T-Rex from Jurassic Park, obviously. King Kong is awesome. The alien chest burster, which Artemis does to scare Parsifal with. And I think that this went over my head the first few times I watched it, but I watched it last week to refresh. There's a very subtle Dune reference in this. Obviously, everyone's shaking their head like, of course he had to bring up Dune again. But there's a Dune reference when they're in H's garage, when Artie goes there for the first time with Z, and he's showing her all of the models that H has. Like, oh, here's this, and then he's like, oh, where's the Harkonnen dropship? That thing is awesome. It gets you from point A to point B in the OASIS in a second. So I had to get my Dune reference in for the day.
I made a list of my favorites. It's not all of them, it's most of them. So I'm gonna read them, speed read them.
Actually, can we do something else? Just kidding.
I'm going. Whether you like it or not, listen to me.
Well, the DeLorean too, obviously.
Yeah, DeLorean. So Iron Giant, Batman, Joker, Freddy Krueger, The Shining, King Kong, Minecraft, Speed Racer, Back to the Future, Tron, Akira, Jurassic Park, Alien, Dune, GoldenEye, Superman, Hulk, Looney Tunes, Harley Quinn, Space Invaders, Bill and Ted, Star Wars, Star Trek, War of the Worlds, Tootsie Pop, Beetlejuice, Mad Max, Mortal Kombat, Gremlins, Thriller, Saturday Night Fever, Breakfast Club, Animal House, Dungeons and Dragons, The Fly, Thundercats, Nancy Drew, Punk'd, Child's Play, Ninja Turtles, Godzilla, T2, Terminator 2, Indiana Jones, Pac-Man, Mario Kart, Halo, Pee-wee, Mass Effect, and Tomb Raider.
There's a lot more than that, too, which is what's cool.
I
love the Bill and Ted one because it's so fun.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like, oh, we wish we could go backwards, like really fast, like really push the pedal to the metal. Bill and Ted did it. All right, let's get into some characters, and then we'll get into analyzing the film because
there's one more
so phenomenal.
I'm sorry, there's one more thing about predicting the future that this film did really well.
Let's do it, bro.
Crypto.
Oh yeah.
So there's the monetary currency in the OASIS is the most valuable real world currency on this planet in this story. So the currency in the game is the currency of the world of its day.
Yeah, so they call it credits.
Yeah, credits, thank you. And so this is literally an example of cryptocurrency.
Yeah, but you could say that cryptocurrency, the idea of it has always been around in digital games and stuff like this, because you've always been able to use real money to buy stuff for like avatars and video games. I mean, even for Fortnite, you can pay money and you get credits, so like that's always been around, but it's actually the currency of the world in the film.
Yeah, I would just argue that you're still spending dollars, like in America, you're spending American dollars to buy that thing.
Yeah, but you still have to at some point convert American dollars into crypto.
Exactly, but you can actually like earn But what I'm saying is this currency in the game, you can buy things in the real world with it, which is really fascinating. And, it is a decentralized form of currency, which crypto is. So it's an amazing, perfect prediction for the future.
Been
I love
hodling my Bitcoin, my Cardano, my
Ethereum.
Let's go to the moon.
Matic.
Poly.
Oh, yeah.
I got some bad ones too, but those are my killers.
We got some shit coins.
definitely have some shit coins. But when everything was going up, I'm like, oh, I gotta buy Teller,
Buy
Artesi,
Anchor.
It's all good though. I'm still up, and I've still been hodling AMC. This is not financial advice, everybody.
No, but get on Ethereum before it goes too high.
We are diamond holding apes in this household.
Polygon.
Let's get into some characters. Let's start with Wade Watts, who's also goes by Parzival or Z, played by Ty Sheridan. And Ty Sheridan, we've talked about a few times. He is an emerging talent in Hollywood. The first time I really saw him, he was in The Tree of Life, Terrence Malick's film. He plays one of the sons of Brad Pitt and Jessica Chastain, and he was very good in that film for just being like 8 or 9 years old. But then when I saw him in Mud, opposite Matthew McConaughey in that film, blew me away. I was like, this kid's gonna be a star someday. And now here he is starring in a Steven Spielberg film, which is absolutely incredible. And
he's been Cyclops.
Yeah, he was Cyclops in the X-Men. He was just in The Card Counter, which I did not love, but it's still working with Oscar Isaac.
He did a good job.
Yeah, and what's his name? The writer of Taxi Driver directed that and wrote that too. But still, Paul Schrader. So I think he's an emerging talent in Hollywood, and I can't wait to see what he does with the rest of his career. But he's perfect in this movie as Wade Watts.
I think he's a great character for the story because I feel like everybody can kind of relate to him. He is very young, and he is a bit naive, but he's so innocent and he's so positive, and he never gives up. He is an undying spirit. And I think the audience naturally gravitates to this character because of those qualities.
Mm-hmm. And so he grew up, his parents died in this hard world to live in. He was named sort of as a superhero by his dad, Wade Watts, sort of be a Peter Parker in a way.
Yeah, the WW, yeah.
And he lives with his aunt who, and throughout the film, all these real world characters, all they care about is the Oasis, just like Wade Watts and everyone else. And, they put all their money into it, all their lives into it. His aunt and her boyfriend, all they care about is making money in the Oasis. And all he wants to do is try to find the Easter egg once it's done, because he's what's called a gunter later on. And Wade Watts' motivation to win the contest is, it's not exactly like the most positive motivation I would say like Artemis has to actually do good in the world. He obviously wants to, everyone wants to get control of the Oasis and become super rich and leave the slums that they've been growing up in. But for him, it's not as powerful of a motivation as someone like Artemis, though.
But ultimately, he does deserve it more than anyone.
Oh, for sure.
I think that he proves how much heart he has by the end. And Halliday's genius concept of the games of even after he gets the 3 keys and makes it to the final contract level, him refusing the contract shows how much Wade really, how much humanity Wade has and how much understanding he has for Halliday. I think that was the real test of it all.
Oh, that was the final test. Because
whoever understood Halliday the best would win this contest.
Because even if Nolan Sorento ended up winning the final challenges, he would have failed the final test.
Yeah.
He would have signed that contract immediately
100%.
and would have failed. He would have never gotten control of the Oasis.
Everybody probably would have. And so I think that Wade loves the Oasis, but I think even more he loves Halliday for creating the Oasis.
Yeah, I agree.
Like the brilliance of Halliday and this iconic figure in his mind. And I think that because of his affection for this man, and that rubs off on him, the goodness of Halliday, that innocent naivety, childlike goodness of the man rubbed off on Wade. And honestly, he probably learned a lot of great life lessons along the way, which gave him the ability to win the contest in the end.
And that's why Artemis tells him that she knows he's going to be the one to win, because like you said, he does deserve it more than anybody, because he knows Halliday better than anyone. And that's the whole point of him winning.
Yeah, exactly. And what I really love about this movie is because everyone is an avatar, they get to create, their own looks, and nobody looks just like a normal human being, you know what I mean? And it gives people the freedom to create their own individuality, and I think that's something a lot of people would like, and a lot of people I think would flourish if they looked the way they wanted to look, and if they had complete freedom over what they look to other people. And I really love that part of this movie. And on top of that, the CGI isn't perfect, but the fact that you're in a video game, in a VR game, that makes it okay for the CGI not to be to the T like super realistic. And it gave the filmmakers the freedom to not worry about that, because you're in a video game, and the audience knows it's a video game. So that means that the CGI doesn't have to look super photorealistic, and it can be a little cartoony at times. And I think that gives Spielberg and his animators a lot of freedom, because if you watch a movie nowadays and the CGI doesn't look good, it takes you out of the film. But in this, you're in a VR video game watching it. So I don't think there's ever been a movie where CGI has ever been more accepted than in this, because you're essentially you're watching a VR video game the whole time.
Maybe like the original Tron, maybe.
Yeah.
But identity is a huge theme in this film. You know, Ready Player One explores that main theme of staying true to oneself. That's why, I mean, we always talk about we want to be wary of new technology and where it's heading in terms of VR and AR and what's happening in the future and how it will affect us in terms of being human beings. But there are pros and cons to everything. You know, that is definitely a pro to actually live your truth and be who you want to be out in the OASIS, or whether it's going to be in the metaverse. I'm sure the same thing will happen. You can literally design yourself for how you want. You can design your home for how you want. You can live the life that you want to live inside the OASIS or metaverse. If that's what you choose to do with your life, then that's totally acceptable, I think. And if you're watching on YouTube or on social media, you may have noticed that Anthony and I have some brand new laptops on our desks. These are the 17-inch LG Gram ultra lightweight laptops. The cool thing about them is their 16:10 aspect ratio, unlike the 16:9 we usually get, so more vertical space. Awesome for editing, awesome for during our podcast referring to notes. The displays on them are fantastic. We love watching movies on these. They're so good. And you'd be shocked how light they are, because it seems like there's no hardware inside, but I'm telling you, they're super powerful, even though they're shockingly light. So we'll put links in our YouTube video of this in the bio for the LG Gram 16-inch and 17-inch models. Thank you so much, LG and the LG Gram laptop, for sponsoring the show for the rest of the year. And if you're literally stuck inside your home for your entire life, living on Earth in the year 2045, escaping your reality online, you'd better have the Manscaped Lawnmower 4.0. Otherwise, things are going to get a little out of hand, worse than they did during lockdown of 2020. Use our coupon code Raiders of the Lost at checkout for 20% off and free shipping from your entire order at manscaped.com. And Manscaped has just launched some brand new products, which would also come in handy living in a VR world for 20 hours a day. The brand new body wash and 2-in-1 shampoo conditioner, which just came out. These are must buy for guys. And they'll also be expanding their line to more products this month, which we can't wait to share with you guys. That we have to keep a top secret for now, but they're expanding their entire line, which is incredible stuff for news for guys. So all the men listening right now, or ladies, if you have a man in your life, men if you have a man in your life, go to manscaped.com. These are products that we'll actually use. Guys will use everything, the boxer briefs, the deodorizers, the men's wipes, lawnmower, the weed whacker. Everything is phenomenal. Get these goodies with our coupon code Raiders of the Lost at checkout for 20% off and free shipping today. Hurry up. It's holiday season. You got to get those gifts in. Get the packages too. The 4.0 is phenomenal. And throughout the film, in the book, the characters, some of them try to hide their real identities in the OASIS. Obviously, with Artemis, with her birthmark, she's embarrassed by that, which she shouldn't be. And then H obviously tries to hide her identity through her avatar as well. And she doesn't. She acts. She
distorts her voice.
Yeah,
too.
she distorts her voice and gender to Wade. Wade thinks that H is a man the whole time, and so it's a good way for someone, if they don't feel comfortable in the world, they can be who they want to be, or how they feel inside.
So there's a movie that did this. I would say 12 years ago, did it poorly. It was a Bruce Willis movie with Rosamund Pike, and it was actually in Boston. Do you remember it? I can't remember what it's called.
Oh yeah,
it's a sci-fi film.
What's it called?
But
something with an S.
Something, yes. Surrogates. Thank you. So in that film, surrogates, people experience reality through a robot surrogate of themselves. So they stay home in this kind of like chamber-esque, just like Nolan's chamber, very similar to that in this film. Like he has that like thing he could sit in. And
Nolan Sorento's.
Yeah, Sorento. He doesn't have to like walk around or anything. It's like the most advanced technology you can have for entering the OASIS, where he doesn't have to move. So it's that kind of thing. And so people, their surrogates go out in the real world, but these are just robots that look like them. But you end up learning that the robots look like very perfect versions of them. And I love the idea, but that film made it, every person, when you saw them in real life in their home, they were like grotesque looking and burned, and they all had scars, and they like someone was like had horrible like balding hair and like terrible teeth, and it was like that was like too like a little too on the nose.
But the concept of like you can only be accepted if you're perfect is absurd. I mean, I don't like that at all. That's what's wrong with that film.
So that's why the film didn't work. Whereas this film understood that it's not essentially you don't have to have anything that looks out of the ordinary. It's more about your identity and how you feel, and not feeling comfortable in your own skin. And even if you don't have like a scar or burn marks or you're bald, it's more about like not feeling comfortable just in general in what body you're in. Whereas the Oasis gives you the ability and the freedom to become whoever you feel comfortable as.
Yeah, that's what's so great about like the last few years culturally, like the acceptance of who you are and who your truth is. That's now popular, or that's now important, and that's what everyone's promoting. That didn't used to be the case even 2-3 years ago. So that's what's great about the concept of the Oasis, where if you feel uncomfortable with who you are in person and it's not who you feel you are inside, then you can be that in the Oasis. You can probably be that in the metaverse and not have to worry about doing it in the real world.
But what also really works for the Oasis is that there are real stakes and there is danger, because you can't die in the Oasis, but if your avatar dies, you lose everything. So you have the risk of losing everything you saved up, maybe all the perks and upgrades you've purchased, maybe suits that you've purchased, and so I really love that concept where these people like Wade are literally risking everything they have to continue this scavenger hunt. So I love that conflict of the characters.
Yeah, and also the more powerful your avatar is in terms of leveling up, the more impenetrable you are to like weak attacks.
I love IROC, the bounty hunter.
He's so funny. By T.J. Miller.
Oh my God,
he's
so
like,
funny.
He's like, I got like a neck thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like I need like physical therapy or it's like carpal tunnel for your neck.
So funny.
But I love the concept of identity and being who you are in real life or inside. You can do that in the Oasis. You can do that in the metaverse, I'm sure.
Yeah, and the thing is, this movie is about one of the main themes of this movie is escapism, and we all find escapism in different things. Movies are an escape. Listening to music is an escape. Television,
listen to our podcast in traffic is an escape.
Exactly. Playing a video game is an escape. However, this film does really smartly show that the problem is VR. Technology and especially social media, but video games like this, they are an escape, but they can be a dangerous escape because you can control how long your escape lasts, and you can just never end if you want. If you're in the right, if you don't have to worry about bills and stuff, you can just always be in your escape. Whereas like if you and I go see a movie, our escape has a window of like 2 hours or so. You know what I mean? But this is a danger, and they talk about in the film, especially Halliday's intention and Wade's eventual decision to ban the Oasis for 2 days a week.
The clan's decision.
The clan, the High Five clan. It's because escape is okay, but you don't want to escape from reality for too long. You know what I mean? Because then you'll lose sight of what really matters. So escapism, I'm all for it, but you have to limit it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're evolving. We're human beings, and we're evolving. It's inevitable to, embrace this culture and the technology that we get because it makes our lives easier. And, but it also is important to embrace humanity in the real world at the same time. Now, let's move on to Artemis, Artie, also Samantha, played
Helen.
by
Samantha, sorry.
Wow, come on, man, get your characters right. Played by Olivia Cooke, who is phenomenal in this movie. I don't think I'd ever seen her in anything really.
Oh, really?
Before.
She's in Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl.
I don't think I've seen that.
She's in a few other things too.
Maybe I've seen her a few times.
I watched that movie on a plane and I was weeping. I was sobbing. I had to hide myself from sobbing. I could feel people looking at me.
But she's killing it right now. She's got cast in some big projects. But
she's in the new Game of Thrones, I believe.
Yeah, that's what it is.
She's a house, not House Targaryen, the rival house.
Yeah, so I can't wait to see her in that. She's phenomenal in this movie as Artemis, Artie. And so her motivation is more about saving people's lives because, there's this intense theme of classism and this enormous wealth gap and real world problems that she tells Wade that Wade doesn't really understand because, yes, Wade has grown up in extreme poverty. He's lost his parents, but he hasn't lived as hard a life as a lot of other people who have real problems in terms of her father having to live and die in a loyalty center, which is basically indentured servitude to pay off your debt, which you never really fully leave because IOI, the corporation which helps pay off people's debts for them to work for them inside the Oasis, has basically control over people's lives. And it's definitely, it's like a new form of slavery in a way.
It has an intense and great parallel to, corporate factory work. And, factory work in America was a horrible thing after the turn of the century during the Industrial Revolution, but also it built America. You know, the Industrial Revolution is the reason why America grew so quickly. That, and plus during World War II, nothing in America was destroyed, so we got lucky in terms of where we were located.
But employees were treated like scum and dirt.
Yeah, and so during the Industrial Revolution, yes, America grew and it was amazing growth, but you know, the poverty in America was 94% of extreme poverty. So 94% of the population was in poverty because they were working in these intense factories.
And a lot of all the immigrants who were coming in, whether it be Irish or Italians, they go right to work in factories all around the country and building railroads and roads and buildings. And like they couldn't even speak the language. They were being paid nothing, and they were dying. They weren't being policed. There was rampant crime, and they were just, it was a horrible life to live.
Yeah, it was terrible. And you know, and obviously that's gone in America now, but that is still happening across the world in a lot of countries, and in a lot of big countries too. You know, like kids are digging for coal in India every day. It's a terrible
working
thing.
in an apple factory for 20 hours a day or whatever.
Yeah, these giant factories for like these companies that we all love, like Apple, where, you know, poor people are making these products that they can't even afford, and they're working in a factory 16 hours a day. And I've seen photos, like people are like passing out on the floors, and
these are just the ones we know about.
Yeah, and there are nets around the building on the outside for when people want to jump out of a window, it catches them, so it prevents people from actually committing suicide because of how difficult the life is. And you know, this is all for the profits of these major corporations. And I think this movie is a brilliant allegory to that. You know, these corporations, they seem so nice, and you know, they have these cool advertisements, and they have celebrities for the commercials, and you know, it's all positive. They have a cute looking logo, but you know, they cause a lot of suffering across the world, across the globe, that of people we don't know and never meet and never will meet. And that's a terrible thing. And you know, we should be lucky that we live on this side of things. But I think this movie, especially with the IOI loyalty centers, with this corporate indentured servitude of the IOI people just taking these people's lives basically away and forcing them to work until they go kaput. You know what I mean? It's a terrible thing, but it happens in this world that we live in today.
And so Artemis has been exposed to that. Wade hasn't really, so that's her motivation, is to try to keep the OASIS pure, keep it out of the hands of IOI and Nolan Sorento, because if he got control of the OASIS, not only would he destroy the OASIS and make it about only making money, and he does that. There's that scene where he's like, we can put up 80% of the screen as advertisements before inducing seizures for people. So all he wants to do is make money and profit. But also imagine what he would do to the IOI centers and the loyalty centers in terms of expanding them and making even more loyalty centers around the world. So even more people will be stuck in this indentured servitude.
Yeah, Ben Mendelsohn is great as Nolan. He's an excellent villain, and he's great at playing the bad guy in movies. He's done it a bunch, and you know, I think that the character is excellent. And I love the scene when he and Wade are talking, and he's trying to trick Wade into thinking that he's like just like him. You know, he's a cool guy.
He just has to wear a tie.
Yeah, exactly. But I love how Wade sees right through him.
Yeah, so we might as well talk about Nolan Sorento while we're doing it. Ben Mendelsohn, phenomenal job. I love the character design too, with the giant fake teeth that he has.
Yeah.
I don't know if Ben got that done in real life or if it's just for the character.
I bet it's for the character.
I'm assuming it's for the character.
Because in the TV show he's making at the same time, you didn't see
it. Seems like implants, because he kind of has a little bit of a lisp because he's probably not fully used to the teeth yet for it. But again, Nolan Sorento, he wants to fully control and corrupt the OASIS, because whoever wins the Easter egg hunt wins the OASIS in control of it. And so what I also love about his character is his avatar is a direct reflection of his insecurities and arrogance as a human being. So when he goes in, his avatar is like this huge, enormous, jacked, square-jawed businessman.
He looks like American Dad.
Which is the exact opposite of what he is, which I think is super ironic. And I love how he works with IROC. IROC is so freaking funny in this movie, TJ Miller. And IROC is working with him as basically like a mercenary to take care of tasks and, you know, gather intel on Wade Watts and try to help him at the end from controlling the final challenge so that only Nolan Sorento can win.
Yeah, and then essentially the next main character.
Wait, hold on. But also with Nolan Sorento, sorry to interrupt, there's a little more.
It's okay, man. It's fine.
There's a dense backstory with him where he used to work for Halliday, but he was just an intern. But the way he got control over IOI was he said that he knew about the OASIS and he helped Halliday build it and everything. He knew all of Halliday's secrets, but really, as we learned from Simon Pegg's character, Ogden, or the curator, is that all he knew was how he took his coffee.
I love that little scene they see, the memory.
Yeah, but in the memory, you can see Nolan Sorento still had ambitions for just money, where he's like, we can have different tiers. We can have the gold, the platinum, the silver, depending on how much you pay per month. And Halliday's like, it's a hell of a latte. But again, Ben Mendelsohn is such a good villain. I love when he does the characters like this.
But I think James Halliday is the best character of the movie.
100%.
So fascinating. Do you have the actor's name written down? I'm so
Mark
sorry.
Rylance. He won an Oscar.
Rylance.
Come on,
yeah,
man.
Oscar
For Bridge of
winner.
Spies. Jeez.
Okay, give me a break. Jesus Christ.
Sorry, I'm just feeling it. We had chocolate shakes before this. That's why we are so chipper. And
Yeah, 50 grams of sugar.
oh, it was more than that.
Yeah,
I am
jumping.
I am jacked. It was very dense and it was chocolate.
But Mark Rylance is an excellent actor. He was also in Dunkirk. You'll remember him from. And he's actually been a stage actor for decades. But he's gone in films here and there. Never really had a big hit, but then in the last few years, Spielberg kind of discovered him with Bridge of Spies. He won the Oscar, and now he's been in some really big movies lately. He's an excellent actor, and I think that his performance as James Halliday is really remarkable. And you can look at James Halliday as someone who hasn't emotionally matured, because he's like afraid to ask a girl out on a date. He is obsessed with video games, obviously, so in a lot of ways, he still has a childlike mentality. Ironically, he is the biggest genius in the world as well.
How about we go to our intermission and get that out of the way and have some fun?
Sounds wonderful.
All right, let's begin with our movie quote competition. So mine is pretty good. Let's see if you can get this. Well, you should definitely get it. It's kind of a long one, so pay attention. Okay. Well, I generally come in at least 15 minutes late. I use the side door. That way Lumberg can't see me. After that, I just sort of space out for an hour. Space out? Yeah, I just stare at my desk, but it looks like I'm working. I do that for probably another hour after lunch, too. I'd say in a given week, I probably only do about 15 minutes of real, actual work.
Office Space. That's great. I forgot about that.
I just sort of space out for an hour, but it looks like I'm working.
I'm a people person. What the hell's the matter with you people?
Wait, Michael Bolton?
All right, here's my quote. Control. It's all about control. Every dictatorship has one obsession, and that's it. In ancient Rome, they gave the people bread and circuses. They kept the population busy with entertainment, but other dictatorships use strategies to control ideas and knowledge. How do they do that? They lower education, they limit culture, censor information, censor any means of individual expression, and it's important to remember this. That is a pattern that repeats itself throughout history.
Say the first line.
Control. It's all about control.
Enemy.
Yeah, good one.
Got it.
I had a feeling you could do it.
I love that movie,
Yeah,
dude.
it's a great one.
Whew.
Good job.
For a second, I thought it was a Brad Pitt movie for a second, but then I was like, no, that's the Enemy for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Guess this movie release year. This is actually a film that Spielberg produced. The Flintstones.
Fuck. Sorry. Yeah, it was Danny Baldwin and John Goodman. I'm going to say, we were kids when this came out. I'm going to say, but we weren't that young. I would say 1998.
We were pretty young. It was 94.
Oh, man. Shoot.
Your turn.
Good one.
He's
Okay.
produced a lot of movies. You'd
Yeah.
be surprised. He even is an executive producer on Cape Fear, Unlisted, uncredited.
Well, he has Amblin Entertainment and DreamWorks Productions, so making lots of movies. Okay, here's my movie release year. It's actually a TV show, but you've watched it, so I'm saying it.
How do you know I've watched it?
Because I know you. Mad Men, when did it premiere?
2005.
2007.
Ah! All right. Movie pop quiz time. Who wrote Gremlins?
Christopher Columbus.
Yep. And then bonus, who directed it?
Robert Zemeckis.
Joe Dante.
No, I don't know. I did not
I
know
would have
that
been
at all.
shocked if you got it. That's why I did bonus. All right, your turn.
What was Steve Buscemi's job before making it as an actor?
He had like one specific job.
Yeah.
Firefighter.
Yep.
Yeah, nice job. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I knew you'd do it.
I got 2 out of 3, I think, right?
Way to go,
Yeah,
man.
pretty good. Pretty good day.
It's a good day for
I
you.
had 667.
You're not bad at 1,000.
Well, 67 is pretty good. I mean, it's better than Teddy Ball Game. All right, who's our hater of the week? We got a real one?
Oh, yeah, we got a real one.
How good is it?
We got a bunch of haters. But I posted a clip of the town.
Charlestown kid.
Charlestown, and all these Boston kids just went to town on us.
We love Boston, but man, the toxicity there is pretty intense with like the hardcore Boston people. It's nuts.
So this guy wrote, This guy lives in California. He has no business talking about Boston. And that was just a movie. None of that is true. He's talking out of his ass. And then one of our fans said, I think they were born in Mass. And then this guy wrote, yes, he was, but he left. Also, there's no bank robberies. LOL. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
There was just a bank robbery in Charlestown like 2 weeks ago. That was huge.
Yeah, the fact that you could say there's no bank robberies at all in Boston
it was
is ridiculous.
huge. It was like a big one. Like literally just happened.
Like, are you always keeping up to date with the crime statistics, pal? Are you like, geez,
Do you work at the FBI? I didn't realize.
Seriously.
My God. Do you listen to the police scanner all day? Nope, no robberies in Charlestown today, guy.
No. I've been keeping tabs.
I live in Charlestown.
This is my city.
Yeah, I know everything that goes on in Charlestown. Freaking works at Radio Shack, probably. No, he works at he works
at Dunkin' Donuts.
He works on the MBTA.
He mops up the trains.
He works on the Green Line. Yeah, I love Charlestown. Yeah, I'm from there. I'm from Roslyn Hill.
All right, non-Massachusetts people are not going to get those. All right, and then we have some unsubscribed haters. In our 28 Days Later in Shaun of the Dead episode, I mixed up Buckingham Palace with the House of Parliament.
You always do that, too.
Yeah, and Jake wrote, you mixed it up. As a UK viewer, you have left me no choice other than to unsubscribe. And then in our Tim Burton episode, Jess Crodrell said, no mention of Planet of the Apes. Unsubscribe.
I thought we did talk about Planet of the
Apes.
Apes.
I think we did. Maybe she missed that part.
Yeah, you definitely must have. We definitely talked about it.
Yeah, you better resubscribe, Jess.
Jess, resubscribe right now and rewatch. That means you were skimming the episode.
Did you skim it?
Did you skip?
Did you
scrubbing?
You scrubbed it
through the episode. We definitely talked about it.
You better resubscribe.
We talked about the prosthetics. We talked about Helen Bonham Carter and everything.
But also, she said that she loves us and keep it up.
We love you too, Jess.
We're just joking. And then in that Boston clip, apparently I made the music too loud, and there were like 100 comments about it.
I did that a week ago, and you texted me like, "Hey man, the music's too loud in that clip. We should redo it."
Yeah, but that music was so. I couldn't even hear your voice after it.
I haven't even looked at this clip,
dude. I couldn't even hear your voice after 5 seconds.
No, I'm talking about the Charlestown.
This one's not that bad. It's like 2 seconds where it just amps up a little bit, but then it goes back down.
People get upset,
and so many people were saying the music's too. People were saying the music's not loud enough. Like ironically,
I love how they always comment. Can you turn the music down? No, it's already posted, bro.
And then, but exactly. But then one of our fans wrote, I don't know about these other comments. I actually think you guys are talking too loud, and I can't hear the music. Subscribe.
Who wrote that?
XD Kyle 19.
He deserves a shout out. That's awesome.
That cracked me up.
Can you turn the music up? All right. Supporter of this episode is going to be awesome. This is a great 5-star review, so listen to this. Best podcast in the history of the universe. I've been listening to these guys for the past year. My wife and I just had our firstborn. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Both are doing great, but she was premature. While we were in the NICU, I would have to go home to take care of the animals and house. During the 15-minute drive home and back again, I would listen to this podcast. James and Anthony kept me sane during an extremely stressful time. Their jokes, funny banter, and making fun of negative reviewers kept me laughing and lifted my spirits. The breakdown of movies allowed my mind to break away and relax a bit. I never thought a podcast about movies would have done this, but I'm grateful I found this podcast. Thank you, James and Anthony. Thank you for being my mental sanctuary. You guys are awesome. Keep up the great work. Andrew Hagen. P.S. Subscribe to their Patreon. Andrew, congratulations on your family. We're so glad that they're both healthy and thriving right now. I'm sure they're doing so. Thanks so much again for the review.
We appreciate it, Andrew. Congratulations. You're an awesome fan.
Now let's get back into... Wait, what's your streaming recommendation?
School of Rock on Netflix.
Nice. That's a great one.
Super funny.
I forgot to do on this day in film history. Sorry, guys.
What happened?
I forgot.
What the hell happened?
What's today's date? I'll make something up. Thursday, November 4th. It's our niece's birthday. That happened in film history.
Happy birthday, niece.
What else happened? A movie came out in 1998. All right. Sorry, guys. I failed.
What a disappointment. Does anyone want James's job? I know he just quit his job, but he might have to go back now. Do you love movie posters? I sure do. The best way to show that love of yours is to deck your place out with a ton of movie posters, and the best place to do that is at movieposters.com, the #1 place to get your posters online today. Use our new and special promo code Raiders10 to get 10% off your order today. These are high-quality posters. If you're looking at our set on YouTube today, it is decked out with all these amazing posters. We have some new ones coming in this week, so keep an eye out for those when we throw them on our walls. They have all sorts of sizes, framing, backlighting, pretty much every film imaginable. Movieposters.com has it. Again, use our special promo code Raiders10 to get 10% off your order today. Next up, our amazing sponsor, Arcstudiopro, which is the best screenwriting software on the market, has just started their own podcast. It is called How I Write, Screenwriters on Their Process. This new podcast will be premiering on November 12th. Al Horner, a film and pop culture journalist, will be hosting the show, interviewing top screenwriters like David Gordon Green, who just made Halloween Kills, Misha Green, who wrote Lovecraft Country, and many more for a total of 8 episodes for its first season. They will discuss topics like how do screenplays actually get written? How long does David Gordon Green sit down to write at a time? How do they keep their notes and ideas? Learn from the pros like David Gordon Green and Misha Green and Jim Cummings on what their writing process looks like. Arcstudiopro will also be giving away all sorts of perks for subscribers and reviews, including a 1-year subscription to their Arcstudiopro software. Again, the How I Write podcast will be coming out on November 12th, so keep an eye out for it and subscribe.
Let's get back into Ready Player One. We were just talking about James Halliday. And so James Halliday was the creator of the Oasis. And then after his death, he broadcasted this great announcement of this enormous Easter egg hunt, which means he placed an Easter egg, and I can't say egg tonight.
Egg. E-G-G.
I'm so excited. He placed an Easter egg inside the game somewhere in the Oasis for whoever to find gets control of the Oasis as well as all of his shares and all of his fortune. But it's hidden somewhere so hard inside of his mind to find that only a true Halliday fan and Gunter, you could say, would be able to find it. And there are 3 keys hidden inside the Oasis, which all have clues and open doors which lead to the egg eventually, and only someone worthy could locate it and find it. But it could be anywhere inside the Oasis, which is an infinite world, really.
And also, he's set up like this library of the most important memories of his life, which, unbeknownst to everyone, hide the secret clues vital to getting each key.
It's called the Halliday Journals, and this is where Simon Pegg plays the butler or the curator. He also plays Ogden at the same time, who was his original business partner with the Oasis, but Halliday eventually kind of pushed him out because he wanted to be the only owner of the Oasis, and also because of their sort of love triangle that was going on. But the Halliday Journals have every recorded moment of his entire life, whether it be from a security camera, from little home security cameras, Nest cameras, you could say, and memories and stuff like that. So all of that is curated into the journals, as well as all the listings of his favorite movies, TV shows, music, events of his life. Everything from his past that's been recorded is in the Halliday Journals.
And I really love the steps to getting each key. The first one, obviously, is that amazing New York City race, which with King Kong in it. And the first time I saw that race, I was absolutely blown away. It's such a great action sequence. It's so intense, and the special effects, the CGI is amazing. And I really adore that scene. It's so much fun.
Yeah, so all the challenges and everything are awesome. But Halliday in general, he's a really fascinating character because of it, like we talked about. He's like this impossibly smart guy. He didn't really know how to get around or socially interact with people in the real world. That's why as a child he was obsessed with video games, and he created video games, and he created the Oasis for him to escape, you could say, into a new reality. And him and Ogden have that relationship where Kira, who eventually became Ogden's wife, went on a date with James Halliday, and she wanted to go to the movies. They ended up staying in and watching The Shining, right? Or something like she wanted to go, and they went and watched The Shining. And so it's a complicated relationship that not until his deathbed really Halliday fully understood that Ogden was the most important part of his life outside of creating the Oasis, because Ogden was his only friend. And Ogden, he might have looked at Ogden as someone trying to take advantage of the Oasis at the time to maybe make money, sort of like what Nolan Sorento wanted to do. But Ogden really wanted to stay on board with the Oasis because he was his best friend. He wanted to be a part of it just to be a part of it rather than trying to make money off of it.
Yeah, I think ultimately he discovered that, excuse me, one of his biggest fears was losing Ogden as a friend, and
after he lost him.
Yeah, after he lost him,
his biggest
he realized
regret.
His biggest regret. That's right, and also his biggest fear was kissing a girl, kissing a woman, and that's why that Shining test is asking her for a dance is the way to achieve the goal of getting that key. So he always had a fear of approaching women, dating women, even though it's something he wanted. And it wasn't until he was older that he realized that not having, I think not having an intimate relationship with a woman was also one of the biggest regrets of his life and something he really wished he had.
Yeah, because I think throughout the scavenger hunt, Artemis, H, and Z, Percival, they think that Kira's really the key. Kira is because maybe he was in love with Kira the whole time, and that's why she's the key to finding the golden egg. But really, Ogden was the rosebud of the story. So Ogden, from Citizen Kane, that's a great reference, was his rosebud. It's like, he's really the whole heart of the Oasis and the reason why he left this Easter egg hunt and, left him around as a curator.
Yeah,
as well.
he was his only intimate human connection he ever had in his entire life.
This is his only friend.
Yeah,
He
his
lost
only
him.
friend.
He pushed him out of the company.
Yeah.
And that's why when at the end of the film, after Parzival gets the Easter egg, he says that his entire clan is going to run the entire place together, and they're all going to sign the contract. And Ogden thinks that it's the right decision to do because that's all Ogden wanted to do. He wanted to help build it with Halliday, even though Halliday's the genius who created it. Like, even when Ogden referred to it as we built the game, or like, and then Halliday's like, I built the game. I think he was being defensive and protective of his property.
It's like Social Network.
Kind of, yes. It's very similar.
Yeah.
But their relationship's really interesting. And I think the final character to talk about is H, or Helen, played by Lena Waithe. And it's H, actually, not just like the letter H, but it's AECH. That's her gamer tag, her avatar. And she is Z's best friend inside the Oasis. They've never met in the real world. And again, her identity is she has projected herself as a male.
A very masculine man.
Yeah, a male to Parzival, who has always looked at H as a man the entire time they've known each other.
Because of the way H looks, and also she has distorted her voice to make it sound much deeper than it really is.
Her avatar looks.
Yeah, but I love H. She's so funny. She's a great breath of fresh air, and she has an Iron Giant. It's so awesome.
So sick.
And I love how she's like a mechanic. So she's like, she builds replicas, like she's building the Iron Giant. Also, she has souped up her truck to like defeat other players. I think it's a really fun player. I think it's a great character to have because it's like everybody knows that gamer who's like super serious about gaming and is all about their upgrades and they're a little obsessive about it. And I think that she represents that for gamers.
Yeah, so I think that one of my favorite parts of the film is when they all meet in the real world, because then you're talking about Sho, who's actually like this young kid who in the Oasis is this fierce ninja warrior, and same thing with Daito too. So like they all been kind of keeping their identities a secret, like everybody does in the Oasis. And it's important, they think, to never tell your true identity. Artemis never wants to know what Wade's real name is, despite the fact that Wade's the first person to admit that he's falling in love with her.
Yeah, and then H is like she could be like an old man. You don't even know.
She could be a 50-year-old man with a gut.
But what I think is what's really endearing about Wade is that he doesn't care what Artemis looks like. He has the connection. And this is like part of that, real life is what really matters. Like, he's drawn to this person, Artemis, and he doesn't care who she really is or what she really looks like. What he cares about is this connection that he's made with her. And that's more important than anything to him. So that's why he is really intent on meeting her in real life.
But the problem with Artemis and Parzival, and this is what H is very wise about, is they're on this Easter egg hunt. It's like kind of like you have your friends and your clans, unless you're like Artemis, who does everything solo, and you can't really trust anybody.
They're kind of rivals.
So, but yeah, and you can't trust them. You don't know them. But H and Parzival, they trust each other. But Parzival is being, swayed obviously because he's attracted to Artemis. He's kind of obsessed with her. He watches all of her streams and Twitches and everything.
Yeah, he had heard of her. She's legendary.
So he's got like this internet crush on her. But H is the one, like, she could just be using you to get to the Easter egg and using your knowledge of Halliday and the games and your pop culture knowledge to help further her goals of getting the egg for herself. So she's trying to tell him that you got to be careful. You don't, like, she could just be taking advantage of you. But Parzival, he actually feels a connection with Artemis, and Artemis does too. But she's between the two of them, she's the one who's pushing it away for the longest time
because she doesn't like the way she looks more than anything.
Well, that, and also she's trying to win for, I think her motivation is a lot more important than Wade's.
Yeah, but also, yeah, definitely, and also, she doesn't want them to meet because she's afraid that he'll be disappointed once he meets her.
Yeah, that too.
I think that's one of her biggest fears, is that the person that she likes will be disappointed by how she looks.
Yeah, but what's so great about this Easter egg hunt is it creates this enormous war for the future with everybody who's in the Oasis trying to get there, trying to get the Easter egg. And it's like a year that nobody figures out the first clue. Well, the first
clue was the race.
Yeah, but that gets figured out. But it takes so long for somebody to even win the race. It's not until Wade figures out the clue about going backwards that he finally is the first one to win. Then he gives the information to H. Then Artemis figures it. No, Artemis does it second because she watched him go backwards. Then he tells H. Then H tells Sho, and Sho tells Daito, or the other way around. But it creates this enormous war where everyone's kind of a free-for-all trying to get the egg and get the clues and everything, but also Nolan Sorento with IOI has basically created an army of indentured servants and IOI Sixers who go into the Oasis and try to figure out the challenges and try to win the challenges and gather credits and gather information for them,
as well as like a giant team of researchers who know everything that can be known about the Oasis and Halliday.
Yeah,
and like it's an entire team built to find and discover Easter eggs based upon the clues, but ultimately, like, they don't work out because they didn't understand Halliday. They know everything about him, but I think Wade's the only person who ever truly understood Halliday.
Well, they do figure things out, but a little too late. Not as quickly as Parzival or H or Artemis do.
But I think that Wade's the only person in the entire world who would have said no to the contract.
Probably, because you could say that Artemis, she obviously could have gotten there, but maybe she would have just wanted to get control of the Oasis out of the hands of Nolan Sorento so quickly that she would have signed it.
With good intentions,
yeah,
but obviously. Done it, yeah.
But I think Wade's the only one that would have realized that there's something wrong here. This is not how it's supposed to go down.
Exactly. And I really love the upgrading aspect of the show. Like, first of all, he buys all like the new gear inside the Oasis, and then it ships to his trailer. He gets that new suit. And so what's really fascinating about this technology, and it's displayed in this film, and it will come to fruition in the real world, is that this technology, it activates all of your senses. Eventually it will. And it does in this film, where especially when he gets the best suit you can buy, you can feel things, you hear things, you can see things. I'm sure you'll be able to smell things. Maybe eventually you'll be able to taste things too. So once it activates all of your senses, that will fully immerse you into this VR experience more than anything.
Yeah, I used to actually go to CES in Las Vegas every year at my old job, which, just left because of Patreon.
Free man.
That's the Consumer Electronics Show, and that basically shows like all companies bring all their new tech, everything that's coming up, but also future prototype technology. So if you ever go to events like that, and especially CES in Vegas, but they have all sorts of things like this, you see the future tech there, and you see stuff like that. You see VR, you see augmented reality, you see how that interacts with touch and senses and stuff like that. So I've actually been seeing this stuff for like the last 5 or 6 years, going to that event every year, but now to see it in the real world, it's pretty wild.
I've actually been on VR rides, and it's the most exciting rides I've ever been on in my life. And what it is you get into this room, and they strap on this chest piece, a headset with a visor, and headphones that go on,
just like a loyalty center.
Exactly. And then you get these gloves, and that's it. And then you walk into this big square room, and then that you're on a platform, and the platform can move depending on what's happening in the game. But also the game, it's such a big open space that you can move through this open space, but you think you're like in a hallway. So you'll follow this path, but you're really just like two people like walking past each other. And there are things like they had things that you can grab. In real life, you're really grabbing something, but in the video game, it was a torch that was on fire. It was really wild. And then there's wind machines that we were like on a plane, and you could feel the wind on your face. So what happens is VR, just having the headset is not enough. You need to have the other senses activated to really immerse you into the experience. And once those are put into the technology as well, it will make it revolutionary.
And also what's really cool about like upgrades in this film and with these characters and their avatars and in the Oasis, obviously Parzival and, H, they're very good Oasis players and Gunters, and you can tell they have amassed an enormous credits and fortune. Obviously they're not super wealthy, but they can afford things like Parzival has that, or Wade has that treadmill inside that trailer, that van, and he's got like the wires that hook him up. He's got gloves. He's got a pretty good headset and everything too, whereas people who are not as good as him at the Oasis and at the game and don't gunt as much as him, they don't have anything like that. They're just like in their living room, like punching the air. But him, he has his own space.
They're
with
like falling off the couch.
Yeah, so he can do pretty much anything without worrying about the exterior around him in the real world affecting his gameplay.
Yeah, I love that aspect of it. And I think my favorite sequence of this movie has to be the Shining challenge.
Oh, it's the best part.
It's so much fun.
So that's challenge 2. So
Yeah.
they get the clue, and and Artemis is actually the one who figures out that it has to be the Shining because on the date with Kira, she wanted to go out, but they ended up staying home and watching The Shining, which is what Halliday felt comfortable doing.
It's his favorite movie too,
Yeah.
I believe, right?
Yeah, so it's his favorite horror. It's his favorite. It's one of his favorite movies. But the clue is also a creator who hates his creation. So Stephen King wrote The Shining, obviously, and hates the movie.
Yeah, exactly. And Spielberg's, and this is not in the book though, right? It's something else in the book, I believe.
I haven't read it in a few years.
Yeah, it's not The Shining, I'm pretty sure. So in the book, it's actually War Games, the Matthew Broderick movie. But I think that Spielberg, he's such a brilliant director. He understands I need to do something visually dynamic and stunning and surprising, and you have the ability to do anything.
Plus, The Shining is way more popular.
Yeah, but also you can do anything. And War Games is like, it's a good movie, but like nobody knows it really. And also, he was great friends with Stanley Kubrick, very good friends. And so I think that he was like, and it was a no-brainer, like, let's do this entire sequence in the world of the Shining movie. And
So
it's
fun.
so brilliant. I love the recreation of all the sets and how he changed things, like Jack with the axe is like a giant when he's attacking all the employees when they're trying to go through the maze.
And the best part about, I think, that whole sequence is we've all seen it. I'm sure we're watching this movie. Everyone's seen The Shining, and they put on Ready Player One, like, oh my God, it's The Shining. I know all the things that happen in it. And despite all Gunter's needing to have seen all pop culture, and obviously The Shining is on Halliday's list that everyone knows of one of his all-time favorite movies, H has always been too afraid to watch this movie. So H is in The Shining, and they're at the typewriter trying to figure out which room the key could be inside. And H is like, hey, I've never seen The Shining. Is it scary? And then I think it shows, like, I had to watch it through my fingers. And so H follows the ball. He finds the little girls. He's like, little girls, how do you get out of here? And then the elevator's about to open, and Artemis and Zero,
She
like,
gets swarmed with flooded with
no,
blood.
get away from. So
Yeah.
because H doesn't know what's going to happen, it's really exciting for us to watch her go through this experience.
Also, the naked tub lady starts attacking her with a knife.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's great.
So it's a lot of fun, and I think it works so much better because The Shining is still culturally popular.
Oh yeah,
it's still there.
It's so relevant, and it's such a piece of cinema history. I think Kubrick knew I have to do something that is
Spielberg.
a part of, what did I say?
You said Kubrick.
I think Spielberg said I need to do something that is really a part of the history of cinema and film, and The Shining was a perfect choice.
Yeah. Not that War Games isn't a cool movie, but I mean, who listening to the podcast? I would say less than half have seen War Games probably.
I've only seen it once.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
if
pretty
that.
good. But
So that's definitely probably the funnest challenge. I think you're probably right,
Thanks.
and that's where Artemis, figures out that it's about taking the leap. That she gets that first idea of because Wade doesn't take the leap to kiss her on that rooftop, and she's like, "Oh, I got it." Which for Wade's like, "Oh man, I'm such a loser
he was
now."
about to.
I don't know if he was, but she gets the idea that it's about taking the leap. So she jumps on the ghost skeleton heads and asks for the dance and takes the leap to dance with Kira to get the next key and clue.
I love Wade and Sam, are in the real world after her guy kidnaps him. It's pretty scary. You'd think that it was the IOI people, but it really was her
With
people.
a face tattoo.
Yeah, with the face tattoo.
Yeah, because, despite the Oasis, it seems like a safe place. You're not going to die in the Oasis. In the real world, stuff is happening. Like, dangerous things are happening to Wade. This is where Nolan Sorento, after Wade says his name is Wade to Artemis at that club where IROC is tracking them and running surveillance on them, he says his name is Wade, and then after that sequence, after they escape, he's able to track down Wade because he purchased that expensive suit for the Oasis, and he's the only one in Columbus, Ohio named Wade who purchased one. So, and that's when Sorento goes and bombs his trailer tower. But at the same time, that great scene you mentioned earlier on where they're going back and forth, where Nolan supposedly is trying to recruit him to work for IOI with like a $6 million salary or something like that, and $25 million bonus if he finds the egg. And despite the fact that Wade's just playing coy, and he knows that he's got a room full of people talking into his ear saying like, oh, when I want to chill out, I open up a tab, I put on, I play Robotron, something like that. So that's happening, but in the real world, he's going to try to kill Wade.
Mm-hmm.
So real world consequences are happening to the characters, despite in the Oasis they seem to have the upper hand.
And they also track Sam's crew because of the face tattoo of that guy. It was easier for the drone to find.
Bro, put a hat on.
Yeah, come on, man.
No, nothing against face tattoos, but you seem pretty conspicuous.
But this is something in movies. I always get annoyed when they don't explain how the bad guys find the good guys in a movie. They'll just show up at their location. It's like, how do they find them? But I think that Spielberg knows we got to show how this happened.
Despite how fast it happened, it's like, oh, of course, a drone found him at a farmer's market getting carrots. Like, that was fast.
Yeah, but there's probably a ton of drones in that world.
You gotta move. You gotta get the movie going.
It's like just enough where you accept it. You know what I mean? You don't question it. And then Sam sacrifices herself to save Wade. She gets Wade out, and then she allows herself to be taken to an IOI loyalty center, just like her father was, ironically. So she's in a terrible situation, and Wade has to figure out how to get that third key.
Now, since we're kind of going chronological order with the clue hunt and everything, the Easter egg hunt, we might as well finish up with the final challenge and key. And so the final challenge, actually, IOI figures it out first, and they find it on Planet Doom, and it's that Atari game, which has all the games that work for it. So it's the Atari 2600, which means it has, I think it's like 26,000 games. So there's thousands and thousands of possibilities of what game it could be, and they assume they have to win whatever game it is in order to achieve the next crystal key, which would lead you to the egg. And so they find it first, and IROC and Nolan Sorento, which they talk about earlier in the film in an early scene, is he got him the orb of Assivox. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, Assivox. And so what this orb does is it creates a giant magic impenetrable shield around an environment. And so this is very clever by Nolan Sorento to find the challenge and then create an impenetrable force field around the challenge so that no matter what, IOI are the only people that can access the challenge, and they'll have to at some point figure it out and beat it.
And this is just the big, giant climax of the movie. It's so much fun because first the High Five crew shows up.
Oh, and also Artie got kidnapped too.
Yeah, Artie got kidnapped. But in the real world, they're inside that van is trying to evade the IOI people chasing them down. So they're on the move. But during this gigantic sequence, you see all of these pop culture references. It's so much fun. You got like Godzilla, you got the Iron Giant, you see Freddy Krueger going ham.
Yeah, it's great because Parzival gets on basically a live stream for everyone to watch, and because he's a celebrity, everybody's tuning in, and it's being broadcast everywhere. And he tells them the situation, and it's like basically, if we don't fight, if you don't risk everything, if you don't risk all of your credits, if you don't risk dying in the OASIS, we're going to lose the OASIS to Nolan Sorento and IOI. So come with me and go to war on Planet Doom.
It's so much fun. And like when Mecha Godzilla shows up and he starts fighting the robot that Daito and the little kid make up, it's an amazing sequence. It's so much fun.
Well, yeah, Nolan Sorento's inside Mecha Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a great sequence, and again, it's very clever by Nolan Sorento, but also Artemis is just as clever because even though she was trapped inside the loyalty center chamber as a worker for them and setting those charges and everything, one of my favorite scenes is when Parzival, Daito, and Sho, they hack into Sorrento's rig because Sorrento's so arrogant, he left his password right on his what would you station, I guess you would call it.
He's such a non-techie.
Yeah. And it's like Boss Man 69 is his password. But Wade, being clever, memorized it when he had his first meeting with him inside that IOI office. But they hack into his IOI feed just as he was logging out, making him think that he's left the OASIS, but he's really stuck inside the OASIS still. And they're able to take advantage of him, able to hack into Artie's rig. But after she gets hacked out of it, she goes back in and eventually sneaks into Sorrento's office so that she can take down the orb of Assivox, take down the orb from inside because that's the only way you can take it down.
Yeah, and that works, and then they do end up destroying Mecha Godzilla and taking Nolan out of the game. But just as Wade looks like he's about to reach the point, IROC shows up with the bomb, and that bomb sets off, and it kills everybody.
Well, he doesn't think Nolan's going to actually use it because as IOI is going through the Atari, they are going through all the games, but the redhead girl, she figures out that it has to be Adventure because Adventure has the first ever Easter egg put inside of a video game by the person who created it. But they think that all they have to do is win it. So the guy wins Adventure, but he still falls to the ice.
Yeah.
But it was really the girl was trying to explain to him that afterwards it's not about winning. It's about finding the Easter egg. And then after Nolan Sorento destroys the Oasis with that bomb, which IROC doesn't think he was going to use, but he does it anyway.
He's like, no, you know how much I've saved up?
I've got 10 years worth of coin in here. He destroys everybody in the Oasis on Planet Doom. I think it destroyed everyone in the Oasis in general.
Everyone in the
gets
Oasis,
set back to
the
zero.
entire system.
But what Parzival didn't realize is that when he won that bet against the Curator, when he says that Kira's name is only brought up once in the Halliday journals in the entire archive, he lost the bet to the Curator. He got that coin. He didn't realize there was an extra life. And so he's able to play Adventure. And he wins Adventure he wins the challenge by finding the Easter egg in Adventure and showing it, and that opens up the challenge, and he gets the crystal key while being attacked at the same time.
Yeah, and then again we go back to that contract scene where he rejects the contract, which was the final test that Halliday put into the contest.
And I love the next scene. It's really great because it's we're inside Halliday's childhood bedroom, and him as a child is there. But this is different because even though they're inside the Oasis, it seems like reality.
It's not CGI.
It's not CGI. And even Halliday at this point, I think Parzival or Wade at this point is realizing, there's something different about you. You're not just like an avatar. You're not like something that was pre-recorded or pre-programmed. You're like something beyond that. Is there more to you? Like, what exactly are you? Are you like an uploaded consciousness? But Halliday doesn't answer that question when he asks it.
I think he definitely uploaded himself into the game.
For sure, 100%.
Absolutely.
It's really cool.
Which is what Zuckerberg's going to do.
He probably already did. I mean, that hearing, he's like, have you ever seen the hearing he was at where he's like drinking water, but with the robot sound effects?
There
are great videos where it's him at that hearing. It was from like last year. And he's like, someone put robot sound effects of like when he turns his head, it's like, and then, there's like Terminator noises, like when he looks at each person and nods, like it's amazing.
Oh my god!
I gotta show you after this.
I have to see this.
Google it look it up on YouTube, everybody. Zuckerberg hearing robot voices. It's so funny.
It was painful watching him act in the Meta commercial.
Yeah,
it was so painful.
He's getting better at acting, but it's still awkward.
For a robot.
For a robot, he's pretty good. But yeah, this is where Wade gets the crystal key and he gets control of the Oasis, and it's kind of cool because it's like he's getting the honor of controlling the Oasis. And Halliday, you've passed the real test of refusing the contract, and you deserve it, and it's like handing the torch off to him.
Yeah, it's like if Zuckerberg gave it to like a decent person, Facebook.
Yeah. And then Nolan Sorento goes crazy, like straight up murder, and like wants to kill Parzival and gets him at gunpoint, but doesn't shoot. But there's this one part about that scene that I don't like when he has Wade at gunpoint, and then he sees the golden egg inside Wade's hands, and his hands are glowing up even inside the van from the lights of it. And he kind of like looks at him and smiles like, oh wow, I'm actually like glad that he got it. I kind of don't really love that moment because I think Nolan works best as just a straight up villain. I don't want to feel any empathy towards him at all. I understand why they do it. Like, it's very common for our villains to have empathy now. You want to feel with them, but I think it's just better to have a straight up baddie rather than even a moment like that. Even though he has him at gunpoint, he like smiles and he's like kind of grateful he got it.
Yeah, it's like a moment of respect, and like he's kind of awestruck about Wade getting it also. I think also it's like, for Nolan, he put so much into finding the egg and so many resources into it. I think he's kind of so shocked that just this kid on his own did it. And I think that's kind of that makes him feel like, I can't kill this guy.
Yeah.
I can't kill him. For me, I think it's okay.
But still, he tracked him down with a gun.
He was literally about to blow his brains out in front of 200 people.
He was going to shoot a like 15-year-old in the face. And he's like, oh, actually, you're cool, man. But it's a great moment because then Wade finally kisses Artemis, and he agrees he's going to give control of it mutually to the rest of his clan, which is the right decision. And Ogden shows up, and he's been there the whole time. He's been the curator. So it's a really, really great moment. And he's like, these are the people you really need, lawyers.
I love the ending of this movie. I think it's a really excellent ending. It's perfect.
Yeah, like we talked about, where now they have control of it, and IOI loyalty centers are shut down. And also, the Oasis closes on Tuesdays and Thursdays so that Wade can make out with his girlfriend.
He's got a girlfriend now.
Let's go.
Let's go, Wade.
Got a nice apartment, too. That place is sick.
That's pretty sweet.
It's
nice loft.
Rad loft.
Anyways, that's Ready Player One. Do you want to do some trivia?
Hold on, let me see. Is there anything else you want to talk about? I think we got
I hit
everything.
all my
pretty
talking
much.
points,
Yeah.
I'm sad.
That was pretty good.
I love this movie.
This movie's a lot of
It's
fun.
really good. Let's do some trivia, playa.
Let's do it.
Oh, so this movie, it has a 64 Metascore, 7.4 IMDb user rating, and then on Rotten Tomatoes,
72%, I believe.
72%. I think it's way better than that.
Yeah, but I think again, I think the con.
I think older critics don't understand it.
I think the con would be if you don't know all the references, you might not like it. And also, I think a lot of older critics aren't into entire films of CGI unless it's like Avatar, where it looks like groundbreaking. Not that the visual effects aren't incredible, which they are, but like you said, it's like a video game at times.
I just rated it a 9 on IMDb.
Nice, dude.
Just now.
I'd give it, probably an 8.5 or 9, something like that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Okay, let's do some fun facts. Oh, this is a good one. The Zemeckis Cube is named after director Robert Zemeckis. When the cube is activated, you can hear the music playing is from Back to the Future. Alan Silvestri composed both the score for this film and the Back to the Future trilogy.
And the Zemeckis Cube is when Wade Watts uses it to reverse time for 60 seconds after they get attacked. In Ready Player One, Artemis has 2 references to the film Alien in Aliens, so she uses the M41A pulse rifle from Aliens as her weapon of choice in the OASIS, and also she does the chest burster scare on Wade Watts Parzival inside the OASIS through her suit.
OASIS is actually an acronym. It stands for Ontologically Anthropocentric Sensory Immersive Simulation. This is mentioned in the source novel, but not mentioned in the film. During the club scene, when Parzival and Artemis meet, you can briefly see Commander Shepard from Mass Effect awkwardly dancing in the background. This is ironic considering in the actual game Mass Effect, it's a running joke that Shepard can't dance at all.
That's one of my favorite games ever.
It's a great game.
Is sick.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into our episode of Ready Player One. We really hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to become a patron today at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast, because now you are our employers. You're our bosses.
Yeah, you're
now,
our boss.
which is pretty incredible. Make sure to stay tuned for our online Masterclass podcast course, which anyone can sign up for. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tons of great content. You learn all the secrets behind the show. But really, thank you so much for tuning in around the world. We really appreciate it.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Be sure to subscribe if you're new. Hit the like button, leave a comment. Find us on all audio streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find us. Find us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Be sure to check out one of these other videos right here for more content on our favorite films and breaking down all kinds of movie content. Thanks so much.